Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Seven Psychopaths, starring Colin Farrell, Sam Rockwell, Woody Harrelson, Christopher Walken, Tom Waits, and Abby Cornish, directed by Martin McDonagh. Now, I remember going to theaters for this, and I haven't seen this movie since, so I don't remember too much about it, except for this movie was fun. But let's see how fun it is. Let's get into this movie. We open the film in Hollywood with two guys talking about killing someone while discussing shooting someone's eyeballs out, which is disturbing until a masked man shoots both of them motherfuckers in the head and leaves a couple of Joker cards like he was the Joker from Batman, which is a fascinating opening scene. Marty, played by Colin Farrell, gets a visitor named Billy, played by Sam Rockwell, as Marty's girlfriend Kaya, played by Abby Cornish, answers the door. And I get the impression Billy and Kaya don't really like each other, as he calls her a C word, which is not one of my favorite words, and a fucking bitch. And I enjoyed these characters as they're fun to watch. Hans, played by Christopher Walken, steals a dog for just a couple of days until he returns the dog to anybody who has lost the dog. And he was the most fun character in this whole movie, as Christopher Walken is always great in any role, even in a villain role like in Batman Returns and other films, for example. Marty is writing a script called Seven Psychopaths, as he can't think of any characters except one psychopath, and Billy briefly helps out as Marty doesn't want him to help out, as he tells in a narration by Marty about a psychopath who's in prison for many years, who does eventually get out and kills himself, while another psychopath who watched him in prison wants to kill him and is too late for it and kills himself. And it is kind of a fucked up story, but hell, I like it as it's necessary. We meet a gangster named Charlie, played by Woody Harrelson, interrogating Charisse about why his dog Bonnie disappeared and almost kills Charisse, but he learns there's been dogs delivered to their owners as it feels strange, and he lets Cerise go. And while Billy trains Bonnie the dog to paw him, which is a cute trick which I do with my cat, as it'll take a while for the dog to get it as he goes to the party where Marty gets drunk, and we move on to psychopath number 4, who is a Vietnamese man, and it'll add to Marty's script later on, while Marty wakes up on next to Bonnie and is told by Billy he called Kaya a fucking bitch, which she is, to be fair, and she dumps him and kicks him out of the house they live at together, and goes to Billy's house and joins him as a dog kidnapper, and Hans gets picked up by Charlie's men and goes to the place where he kept the dogs, and they go in, and the man in the mask kills Charlie's men while Marty and Hans first meet and goes to Billy's house, and Charlie goes after Billy, Marty, and Hans as Billy and Marty meet a man with a pet rabbit named Zachariah, and these scenes are just absolutely fucking hilarious. Zachariah tells Marty about his case as a psychopath and tells the story of a woman he met and fell in love with named Maggie, as they become psychopaths together. And we see those flashbacks because he misses Maggie, and I do like the narration by the actor playing Zachariah, as it works tremendously, just like the writing. Charlie finds Hans' wife at the hospital and talks with her as he discovers it was his wife and shoots her dead, while Hans passes by Charlie without knowing what he looks like, and goes to the waiting room with Charlie and gets on a little intense with him. And kudos to director Martin McDonagh on making the characters and the narration necessary. Billy meets the end with Angela and tells her he has a Charlie's dog, and she's dating both Billy and Charlie, and turns on Billy because he ain't giving Charlie jack shit. And Billy gets a phone call about him having his dog. As he finishes his phone call, he kills Angela, and the audience discovers he was the masked man killing Charlie's men, which was a great reveal. Marty reveals Billy wants to be a better person and friend to people as Billy arrives home and Marty and Hans get in the car. with Bonnie, and they get out of being killed by Charlie to go to the desert, where Charlie can't find Billy, Marty, and Hans, as Marty asks Billy to write Seven Psychopaths and wants Hans to give him some ideas, as well as these actors playing these characters are relatable, and work fucking great. They get to the desert and we learn more about these characters. Marty writes about in a script, and I like the script he writes for his movie titled, if you can guess it, Seven Psychopaths. And he writes more of it in the middle of the desert while nighttime comes. And Billy tells the script ending as it's a shootout with the Seven Psychopaths versus Charlie and his goons. And I like the way Sam Rockwell acts in that moment of the film, as he makes it exciting. And I like the story, and I would have loved to see it on screen. Next day comes, and Marty and Hans see Andrea and another man in the newspaper, and they go back to Billy realizing he killed them. And we move on to the next time while Billy explains why he killed the two motherfuckers in the newspaper. And that was because he wanted to give Marty something to write about, which is a terrible reason, sure, but for movie reasons, I think it's a nice thing to do, but not in real life. That's a bad thing in real life. And the movie does a good job at saying it for good movie reasons, and I can accept that. And I was getting engaged with the movie at this point. Their ride home explodes because Billy did it on purpose, as he wants Marty's movie to end his way with Charlie's death. And the next day comes and Marty punches Billy in the face, and Billy confesses he acted like Hans's wife, which was pretty fucked up, as he starts to walk away from both Marty and Billy. And this is when the movie makes me feel bad for Hans. And I love the way Christopher Walken portrays his upsetting story told by Billy, and it works very well. Charlie arrives as Billy and Marty bring the dog with them, and Billy shot him unarmed in the back and gets a flare gun, and Billy treats him horribly. Meanwhile, Hans approaches two of Charlie's gangsters, as one approaches him with a gun and tells him to put his hands up, and Hans doesn't give a shit. And at this point, he doesn't care whether or not he lives or dies anymore. And I feel bad for Hans, but I love the way he plays it cool. And Marty takes Charlie to the hospital with a couple of his goons, shooting Hans dead. And the sheriff's office goes after the goons. They drive away, and the goons come towards Marty and free Charlie, as he faked his shot wound, which was sadistic, but Woody Harrelson plays sadistic quite well, in my opinion. Charlie doesn't kill Marty, but takes him and his goons to Billy, and they should have a shootout when they arrive, and he hides in the rocks and throws his gun to the ground, and Billy comes down with the flare gun to the dog's head. And at this point, I think Billy is bluffing when Charlie thinks he's going to shoot the dog to harm, but thank God he didn't. And that was a hell of a great Mexican standoff, until Charlie tries to shoot Billy and his gun is jammed, and his goon says, "Fuck your dog," and Charlie fixes it and shoots Billy in the head. And as he dies, he begs the dog to paw him, and Bonnie the dog, Guy, does so, which was adorable for damn sure, while Marty sees the dead body of Hans and gives him the tape recorder. As he hears the message, Hans gives him advice about his script, and that was some great advice from Hans himself, and it makes a great movie with great reviews. And Marty kept the dog. After the success of the movie, Marty gets a call from Zachariah as he's about to hunt him down, and the climax was pretty fucking great. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 8.3 out of 10. These are fun characters that I enjoyed myself watching, as they're entertaining to watch, while the movie is entertaining, as the movie is absolutely fucking hilarious. The movie is tremendously written, and the acting is well done by these actors, and the narration going on in this way is absolutely necessary, and I like how director Martin McDonagh makes the characters and the narration necessary. This tells a great story of a writer writing a script about the seven psychopaths, as I had fun with it. And this is a solid recommendation, and I really hope people can check this out one day. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and I will not be back for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, since I did that at 2017 or early 2018 for the Oscar runs. You can watch that show on my list. And next time I will be back with the Banshees of Inisherin in a couple of weeks. And until then, have a bloody good one.